Hi again. This is a brief introduction to solution-focused brief therapy. I wanted to kind of offer you some additional comments and background that you might not be reading about or see in the video. If you thought that motivational interviewing, which I have also talked about, is about instilling motivation in people, it's really not. It's about finding the motivation that's already there. By the same token, if you think that solution-focused brief therapy is about helping clients solve their problems, it's really not. It's about finding instead the solutions that are already there in a small way and maximizing or magnifying them or make them happen more in a big way. So I don't want the names of each one of these therapies to give you the wrong impression. The first question to consider is, I think, a basic one. Can you do therapy without a problem? And I think it really comes down, the answer to that really comes down to, what is counseling about? What is psychotherapy really about? And if you think it's about solving problems, I beg to differ. Yes, problems do get solved, but if you marry yourself to that definition, to be successful in counseling, I have to solve all my problems, you may well wind up thwarted and frustrated. I'm going to suggest what counseling is about instead is helping the client feel better, whether they have problems or not, whether they have the same problems or not. And therefore, something like solution-focused brief therapy can be very, very useful. What is intriguing about it to me is the highly original set of questions that it offers to us as clinicians. And think about the opening question you're going to hear Insoo Kim Berg offer in this video session. She's going to say, how would you know it was a good idea that you came and saw me today? Now, I used to collect opening questions when I would watch therapists or hear about therapists. I thought it was really interesting to see how they would start the session. And the most usual question is something like, well, what's the problem? Which is an interesting approach, but it really takes you right to the problem frame. There's a problem, let's attack it. We're going to solve it. You're going to feel better. That's okay. That's one way of doing it. What I prefer is, what do you want? And the best version of that, for my money, came from the great family therapist, Virginia Satir, who you should have already seen on video. Her question was not just, what do you want? But it was, what do you want for yourself here today? If you ask, what do you want? Your client may well say, well, I want to win the lottery. Yeah, but that's not that specific. And how can I help you with that? What do you want for yourself here today makes it personal and, at this moment in time, immediate. So I've always loved that opening question. But Insoo Kim Berg, in her opening with her opening question that sets the stage for this therapy session, goes one better than that. She doesn't just start with an outcome. What do you want for yourself here today? The assumption of her question is, you've already got what you wanted out of being here. Now tell me how we did it. Tell me what happened so that you feel better as a result of our meeting. It's a really, I think, phenomenal approach and uses presupposition to get there. And solution-focused brief therapy used these presuppositions, as Satir did, to drive the client into the area where the therapist wants the answer to be. In other words, one other question on Insoo Kim Berg's list is, what's better since last time? And that's a great question because it presupposes that something is better and it forces the client in a way to look for it. Now, they can say nothing, but then you as a therapist would say, well, I understand nothing seems better, but what got better in some small way or something like that? You could always press them on that. And I think the art of asking questions is really about using presuppositions. So when Insoo Kim Berg says, what's better since last time, I don't think she does it in this session. This is a one-session treatment here we get for the video. But what she's really asking is, tell me what's improved. And she bypasses that, the possibility often, not always, but often, that the client will start complaining right away about this, that, or the other, and they'll focus on the solution. So there's something here to be said, and I think a lot of counselors have added a lot of these techniques, even if we don't do solution-focused brief therapy per se, as well as or exclusively as she does. we have certainly included some of these questions in our repertoire. Consider the notion of scaling. This is very useful. And I don't know that I think that this is original with SFBT, which is you ask the client, for instance, how's your depression this week on a scale of where 1 is feeling 0 is basically terrible despair and 10 is feeling great. And they say, well, it's a 5. And then you say, okay, well, what can you do to increase that number by 1? So next week you come in and you tell me it's a 6. I mean, that's a really useful approach. The other useful question here is, when are the exceptions to the problem? And SFBT argues nobody has problems 24/7. We all take breaks from our problems. Emotionally, mentally, we take a break. And SFBT asks the question, well, how can we take those breaks that we take from our problems and expand them so that they become more a part of us and the problem doesn't rule our lives, etc., etc. If you think that this is kind of verbal trickery, I thought there was nothing to it when I first saw this video, and I said, I could do that. I'm going to demonstrate this. And I did, and my demonstration fell totally flat. I got to a point where I didn't know how to respond. The client took me into the problem frame, and I didn't know how to get back. And Insoo Kim Berg does it so artfully in this video. She is all of her questions, you may notice, direct the client to stay in the frame of solutions. Stay in the frame of, you're dealing with this, your life is better when you do it, tell me more how you're going to do that, etc., etc. And then it finally finishes with what I call a self-image statement, where, I don't know if you'll see that much of it, I don't know if I've included that much of the video, but the client would say, Insoo Kim Berg would say, as a reflection of everything that's gone before, she would say something like, so you're the kind of person who can pick your battles when you want to. And this is a way of making clients feel better and not worse. Now, here's the downside. This is not a private practice therapy. There are economics in the field. Yes, we therapists want to get people better. We want to get better fast. But think about it for a moment. If I was a long-term therapist and I had, I don't know, a caseload of 30 clients or something like that, I did this with each one of them, research indicates these people are going to feel better in 1 or 2 sessions. Now, I don't know, maybe that's not always accurate. Do I really want to be without any clients in 2 weeks? It's a great therapy if you're a clinician working at a facility. If you've got a job at a clinic or something like that and you've got a waiting list. I think it's a great way of getting people started on the right path to appreciate where they are and how well they're doing and not be dragged down by their problems. Tell me what you think. I look forward to your responses. Thanks for listening.